So we'll get to see how theirs works out first. But the plan would have it to be in September, so by that time it gets dark a little earlier. So you wouldn't have to stay up real late, so it would be great for families too.
Well, I just wanted to thank, the Friday Five people made a presentation earlier in the year. I wanted just to thank them again for all their help, trying to, bring new events to the park. I want to, thank you for all your hard work on this. Remind people Friday, August 5th, for Shakespeare in the Park, the very first one. Then we'll have a movie night again, the very first thing again at these Friday at 5.
And we have 3 more concerts. Next Tuesday is going to be the Reddy Valentino Swing Orchestra, which I think everybody will enjoy. Then we have Billy and the Showmen, which is a rhythm and blues band, which apparently is very good. And then we have the Derivatives. Actually, 4 more. 4 more. Derivatives, and then Angie Rubino and his band.
Fantastic.
So if you don't have a schedule, you can go online to the website and download a copy of the schedule. And
beautiful.
If anybody else listening or watching has any other ideas for events, just you can get in touch with me.
Exactly. Well, look, and I think the other thing that we're happy. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the Rye-Town Park staff for all the hard work this year. I think, again, every year we look to improve, and there's no doubt in my mind that you've improved, maintained a high-quality service level. In fact, I think it's improving. In an environment where you're really focusing on reducing cost. We'll go into the numbers a little bit later. In an environment of extreme vigilance, I think the vigilance only helps, as we talked about last Friday, and I want to thank all the commissions for helping us. I think all the public inputs made us better, it's made the staff better, and I think the staff's responded to the challenge. So I want to thank you all for your hard work. Remain vigilant on both maintaining service and improving service levels, as well as keeping real close cost on cost. But Mr. Joffrey, Mr. Lawyer, and Terry Frank, and the rest of the team want to thank you guys for all your hard work.
Joe, I have a question.
Please.
Fred, at beach closing, do you have like an idea of how many people are waiting to get onto the beach after it's closed for free, roughly on a good day, bad day? I mean, are we talking 100 people? Do people wait for the beach to close to get on the beach?
I had a
Try to go up to the
just a rough number, and then we'll make a recommendation.
Benny, I had a conversation with Bishop one day when we were looking at the beach. We're in a couple 300 category.
Addition to what's on the beach.
Yeah.
Addition.
I was figuring that we should maybe collect $2 up to 8 o'clock, because I see people trekking in with all their chairs and stuff, and they just wait for us to close down.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question for that reason.
Yeah, we gauge it by the number of calls we get asking us, when do you close?
Right.
And so that increase has got my attention.
Yeah, and our park staff is still on duty during the...
Park staff is there, security's there, maintenance is there, and executive staff is there for the most part.
Just the lifeguards.
Lifeguards are out.
Right.
Now, what I was trying to compile in my mind is the cost of lifeguards to even just use one part of the beach with lifeguards so that we can charge. And I think that would, because I stay up there and I worry about how many people are on the beach and no lifeguards.
Well, I think
the signage is there, the warnings are there.
Yeah.
Our lifeguards tell everyone when they're going to leave. They tell them that they can't be swimming after. We've got all the safeguards there, but you still wonder.
Well, obviously there's a positive attendance of people coming after we close the beach officially, but there's the question is in my mind, and as is in yours, is how do we capture that from an economics point of view, and whether we're subsidizing. Well, we can have that conversation.
I've been working on it.
Continuing to have it. Okay. So it's substantial, which is a good.
Yeah, it is substantial.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we got lots to go. Actually, Susan, once you, I can just, I know you're not formally on the agenda, but I know you'd want to talk to us. Why don't you come up if you would? Thank you so much.
In the back of your packet, you have her...
We have a letter from Susan in the back of the packet, Commissioners. Thank you.
If you would kind enough to pass these, each of you. My name is Susan Auslander. I'm the president of Carpe Diem Westchester, which is a fundraising firm that I work with Lisa Easton, who many of you know as the architect who worked on the roof. Last year, I was pleased to be told by the state that I had secured the maximum grant of $400,000 for another of my clients. Unfortunately, not for the Right Town Park. However, when I asked what we could do to sharpen our particular grant, because I'm not used to getting turned down, they said it was a function of the then commissioner's priorities, and that we were short on low income and low income, basically. So I have to talk to Bishop about sharpening that particular piece of it. What I'd like to do is propose my services for this year. The state has issued an RFP for proposals for capital historic preservation grants, and they have $13.2 million allocated for that. The maximum grant they're giving is $400,000, and since you have about a $3.5 million nut to crack, according to Lisa Easton's budgets, for the preservation of the pavilion on the exterior, I would suggest that you go for the maximum amount of the grant. And as you can see from my letter, there are a couple of ways that you can consider hiring my firm. My friends up in Kingston decided that they're being frugal Dutch burgers, that they would go for a percentage if I got them the grant, and I did. So that was one way to do it. The other is my regular fee of $7,500, which is due whether or not the grant is awarded at the time the submission is made to the state. So
basically, we could, just to be, just so people at home wouldn't have the letter, so effectively what you're offering is your services for a flat fee of $7,500.
Yes,
or 5%. So if it were the grant amount were $400,000, you'd be paid $20,000.
Right.
And you're prepared to take on the risk if you could make it at no cost.
Risk.
Exactly.
For those who are risk averse.
Well, that sounds.
I would bill for like $100 for, or probably less than $100 for out of pocket, FedEx, etc.
Right.
But it would be de minimis.
Well, if it's a success, I like success fee basis. But let me put it to the commission. I think that's a very fair proposal. I think the $7,500 in this environment where we're really penny pinching is probably more difficult. And the success fee base is $100 versus a potential for $380,000 with Susan taking the risk. Our interests are clearly aligned.
Yeah.
That certainly, sorry, Ms. Auslander, I apologize, would be clearly incented to work very hard to achieve it. I like the proposal, but let me hear from the commission members.
Yeah, I just attended a grant workshop with Congresswoman Lowy, and it's a real expertise, and you have to have somebody focused on it, and it's very particular. I know this is the state level, you said, right? But it's the process is the same. I definitely think we should go for the services, but I like the incentive-based model myself.
Yeah. Other commission members?
I concur.
Perfect. Well, look, I think, can I get a motion to approve the hiring of Ms. Auslander on a success fee basis?
If we do get the grant, though, are we committed to complete the entire project?
Well, we're going to be in a position where we have to,
to match
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then there are federal things to consider, as well as whatever funding or whatever you choose to do.
Great.
If for some reason we don't match the grant and turn down the grant, we're not on the hook for $20,000. So.
Yes, you are. Sorry about that. That's what my friends in Kingston found out. We got a federal grant for $350,000, but they have to raise the other funds.
Just remind me, Ms. Auslander, how much time do we have to match the grant? I remember with the previous grant you secured, I think it was like 3 or 4 years, wasn't it?
It's a couple of years at least.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
We got extensions last
We can get a seed
You
money
can get
like that,
extension.
and you get extensions.
I like his thinking, though. Heads we win, tails you lose. That's pretty good, Joe.
I like that. I like it too. And look, there hasn't been investment in that park for 50 years. It's an absolute travesty to have that resource there and not invigorate it.
Yeah. And we're thinking
And I tell you what, if Miss Auslander gets that $400,000, I think that's a wonderful way to kick off a campaign to create a public-private partnership to secure monies to do something for the community and that extraordinary site. I mean, quite frankly, one of the things we had a wonderful meeting at the Rice City last Friday at Mayor French's request, and one of the big issues for this commission is, do we want to make this a year-round park? And quite frankly, we got to find a way to make it year-round because it's just too valuable an asset with too beautiful a view, with too little community use, not to have it as a year-round facility. Now, there's a whole lot of people out there a whole lot smarter than we are, but if Miss Auslander can kick this off with a $380,000 head start, then so be it.
I just have one question.
Please.
What are the deadlines with respect to the grant applications?
September 1st.
Do you think you'll be able to get in by then?
Yes.
Beautiful.
We have a motion on the floor.
I so moved the motion that was made.
Yep, second?
Okay.
Agreement, yeah.
All
Second?
right, motion made by
Second.
Salanitro,
Okay.
second Carvin.
No French.
Oh, French, okay.
Did you call the roll?
You said, I'm going to check and
I
second.
don't think I can
Right.
second it.
That's why I like being on this commission.
Commissioner Sack?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
Commissioner Feinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Carvin?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
For your time.
Thanks, Ms. Auslander. Bishop, here's the actual thank you. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Thank you.
Great. Okay, wow. All right, we're moving in the right direction here. Thank you so much again, Ms. Auslander. Okay, June financial report. Who's going to present this? You, Mr. Trenzi, the two of you. I know we've had it. We had, as I said, a very constructive conversation last Friday, and Mayor French sent to the board members
And I want to thank Mayor French.
Please.
It was a really fantastic
Thank you.
analysis, and actually the way it was analyzed was very telling about certain decisions that we may make, and where, in fact, when you really look at and do the analysis, you really see, at least from my perspective, and going back to the June records on an individual basis, that really one of the reasons we're lagging behind, to be quite honest, is the weather. When you really look at the dates, and I analyze the dates and the projected revenue against the benchmarks, the weather really, at least through June. Now this week, and I'd like to hear preliminarily what it's like this week, considering the weather is
Actually,
beach-like.
I want to do it, but before we get there, actually, maybe...
Excuse me?
This past weekend, we had a very good week.
Yeah, but I really thought that Mayor French's analysis
Yeah,
was
maybe what I'll
fabulous.
do is quickly summarize for the people at home, and then Mayor French, if you could summarize.
Absolutely.
But basically, I think what we talked about is we're going to have a short. So let me rephrase what we talked about last Friday for the whole commission, and in terms of what Mayor French had asked, that we get together to give a sense of where we're headed this year. And what we talked about last Friday was, and hopefully we'll do better, but what we talked about last Friday is based on the first about 45% of the summer, revenues coming in at about $750,000 to $800,000 versus the $920 that we have budgeted this year. So a significant shortfall on the revenue side, primarily, as Mayor Feinstein points out, for weather-related issues, and Mayor French did an excellent analysis, going much more in depth, and he'll talk about that. On the expenditure side, remember, this is the one part that we can control. We had budgeted $988,000. Now, that's versus last year's actual of $1,084,000. So we basically had budgeted $90,000 less expenditures this year. And I think we're on track. The staff's done is, rather than the budget at $988,000, we're going to come in about $950,000. So $950,000, I think, is a good working estimate, and Mr. Trenzi's put together some nice numbers here for us. We're thinking about a $950,000 expenditure. So $800,000 revenues, $950 expenditure means a loss of $150,000. $750 in revenues versus $950 is $200,000 loss. So we're looking right now, best guess, 45% of the way through the season, $150,000 to $200,000 loss. That's our best guess today, and that's before any capital expenditures. I think our capital expenditures for this year are estimated about $50,000, which is what we had budgeted as well. So you have to add that to the operating loss in terms of monies that the city of Rye is going to have to finance, and we're going to have to finance. So between $200,000 to $250,000 to be financed overall, again with different sharing ratios between the city of Rye in Rye Town for this year. And then let me turn over to Mayor French, because you did some additional analysis that Mayor Feinstein is talking about, which is extremely helpful as well.
Yeah, and it's basically just looking at the businesses that we're in. I mean, if you look at the $900,000 budgeted for revenue, it really comes from a number of streams. One is our contractual revenue. That's booked. Permits, Seaside Johnny's rental, and events. And that we've budgeted about $200,000, but we're actually, if we have the events that we've budgeted for, permits are way above, we're going to end up $3,000 over in that category. You look at pre- and post-season, which is really now our full-service suite. Last year, if you remember, the weather was beautiful in March. In the preseason last year, we did $20,000. This year, we only did $7,000. So in order to get that $40,000, 20 in the pre and 20 in the post, we've got to do a strong postseason, and we've asked staff to recommend to us, should we be open for postseason or not. So we're lagging in that because of the weather in the early part of the year. When you look at our holiday business, there are 9 holidays that we have, and the demand is through the roof. We do, some days we do $40,000 one holiday day. So if you've got 9 holiday dates, and I just did a benchmark of $20,000 per day, that's $180,000. Well, right now we're tracking at $100,000 in holiday revenue, and these are ballpark figures. So we're $80,000 behind heading into Labor Day. We need to have a big Labor Day, and we're not going to do $80,000, but if we can do $40,000 or $50,000, we did about $30,000 last year, we need to promote Labor Day and drive attendance for Labor Day. And the reason why we're short in holiday revenue is last July 3rd, which is the Sunday, it's the Sunday of the Sunday of the holiday weekend is your biggest day. Last year we did $45,000. This year it rained, we did $1,200. You're not going to make that up. And so when you talk about us being short revenue, yeah, maybe demand is soft, but that's a huge killer. The other thing is weekends. Weekends is a different crowd. We draw a wider audience than we do on weekdays. Well, we generally do about $30,000 a weekend, and I put a benchmark of $10,000 per day, Saturday and Sunday. We've got 24 weekend dates, so it's $240,000. We're tracking it about through not even half the weekend dates. We're tracking right on budget for that. $10,000 per weekend day. Yeah, some weekends it rains, the whole weekend is shot. The next weekend, though, you'll do $40,000. You won't do 20, you'll do 40. So we're tracking above that benchmark. And finally, weekdays. Weekdays seem to be soft, but if we did $4,000 a day, that's $20,000 a week. Times your 12 weeks, that's $240,000. Not talking about holiday dates, right? What you come up with is, well, $4,000. How do we get to $4,000 a day? Well, $8 to park. You know, you get 200 cars. That's $1,600. 300 beachgoers. You're $4,000 just like that in terms of your price point alone. Now, we do some days a lot more than 200 cars in the parking lot. So, on average, those we're doing above that. We're actually on a weekday revenue. We're doing better than our benchmarks. So all I'm saying is, when you look at the revenue data, a couple of holiday dates killed us. The preseason, hurt us. But in our general demand of weekdays and weekends, we're actually tracking at or above budget. Plus, our contractual revenue is higher than planned. So I think if we promote, and one of the options is to drop price, I think when you drop price, you actually drop revenue. So what I would propose is, on weekends, we give people a coupon to come back during the week and get a $2 discount. So we promote our own customers to come back, but rather than drop our price for anybody that shows up gets a discount, maybe we promote the fact that, hey, you're a good customer on weekend, you'll get $2 off if you come back during the week. And that way, if people are coming back for the discount, and we're not just giving it to everybody that just shows up, they get a discount on the revenue. So I do think we are in tough revenue straits. I don't think we're as bad as $750, But if we can get that number to 850 and come in the budget at 950 with a $100,000 loss, I think those are targets that are realistic we should shoot for.
Sorry. I apologize. I want to take a pause there, and I'm sorry.
Well, his point, we had a $50,000 weekend, and in my benchmark analysis, I only booked it for $20,000. So we're 30 ahead of the game, where we lost, I think, one weekend in June, we were totally rained out.
So let's, fingers crossed for weather. But actually, I want to take a pause here, and Mayor French, I don't want to embarrass you. But
I just embarrass myself.
No, well, I got to say, I've been involved in the public life for 3 or 4 years now, and I noticed there's some people from the press. I hope you report this. That's as good an analysis that I've seen from any public official in the 4 years I've been involved with local government. The guy's taken a lot of time out of his personal time to really work hard to deliver a fantastic service at the right price, the right cost for the citizens of the town of Rye and the city of Rye. I mean, that is just an extraordinary. When we look at our public officials today, and to see committed officials, regardless of party, this is post-partisan, got nothing to do with being Republican or Democrat. I just say, listening to Mayor French and Mayor Feinstein, I think, concurred in terms of the analysis. That's just as good analysis that I've seen in terms of just trying to deal with in a difficult economic environment. So I apologize, I don't want to embarrass you, but that's as good as analysis I've seen, and that's why, quite frankly, I'm going to one more prejudice. I love working on this commission because, the tremendous dedicated work from Mayor Feinstein, from Councilman Sachs, from Councilman Salanitro, and from Mayor Phil, who unfortunately is not here today, but has worked hard on our budget and a number of other initiatives. Mayor French, I really love this council because you have at least 5 dedicated public servants. They're doing all the hard work. I get to mediate the meetings, and so.
Talk about Dennis.
No.
He's not here.
But I'm sorry, but I just there's not enough good things said about politicians in the local press. And, I'd love to get some good press for this commission as a whole and the way it works together, because I think it's a real example and a real tribute to the community and in terms of the way we involve the staff and the community. I look at Paul Schaefer dedicating her time, Christina Beecher, Caroline Walker, the friends from Wrightown Park, Linda Wells and all our friends from Wrightown Park working really hard just to make it a better park. Clint Fye, Mrs. Carrington, the whole team just working really hard. So I really love coming to these meetings because there's people in the audience and there's people that care. So sorry to
Thanks for the comments. Paul Schaefer from the Finance Committee also did a similar analysis, to a different cut, but basically came out with the same results that we are tracking, except for a couple of big days. And the preseason, we're tracking relatively good if we can keep it going and actually promote more attendance.
Right. I mean, I think if given where we were in the middle of July, and I haven't seen the numbers for last week, but given where we were in the middle of July, and the fixed, as you say, the fixed revenues that we have from things like permits, where the staff did a great job. I mean, they did a 16,000 person mailing this year in March, and it obviously got results because permits are way above historical and way above revenues. So the staff did a great job on that. I think if we do even 90% of the 2010 numbers for the balance of the season through Labor Day, you come to like 880,000 in total revenue.
Wonderful. Well, fingers crossed.
I think the revenue estimate of 750 to 800 is a little light based on that. And as you say, if you can do something, I think your idea of promoting it by giving a discount coupon to people that come on the weekends, that's a great idea. So
that's my wife's idea. It's Carrie, my wife. That's not my idea.
I'd like to just have a little update.
That's what we talk about at home, so that's...
Just to understand, because the last week the weather has been so phenomenal, we had an idea of the revenue, at least the weekend before, which was certainly above. I think that weekend was 26,000. But this past week, I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking about, but the weather has been phenomenal, and the weather, at least for the balance of the week, is the best kind of beach weather. Very, very hot.
Yeah, I can tell you that looking at the same period last year, there were 3 rainy days where we had revenue less than $500 in 2010. So we're going to compare very well in terms of July. We're actually going to pick up on July. Heading into July, I think we were somewhere about 100,000.
You had a lot of rainy days. I went through every single, number of days where there was nominal.
So far, let's keep our fingers crossed. July is working out extremely well.
What was last weekend?
I don't have the number.
Did you say the number? Did you say it's 40,000?
For this past weekend?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's somewhere close to 50,000.
50,000, whereas the weekend before that was
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Friday, 3 days.
Okay, yeah, I only do the 2 days in my analysis, but still.
Joe,
Yeah, we had almost 4 inches of rain this year.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, please.
I think-
Commissioner Sack.
I think the important observation is, and I think Mayor Feinstein directly referred to it, is the weather is what really drives these numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
And really not the differential pricing that we instituted last year. And I think there are still some residual references to the fact that people don't come because of the pricing. And I personally, who knows what the numbers really mean, but I personally don't believe that, and I don't see that in the numbers. And I think that the analysis and our observations bear that out. So I think we do have our fingers crossed for better weather so that we can, have better numbers. But I don't think the people are staying away because of what they have to open their wallet and pay for. I think another interesting thing is I'm looking at a transaction comparison for the month of June, and Joe, you made a big point of this last year, and I agree with you that it was interesting how 80 or 90% of the people that went to the park were non-residents. Okay, and now we're seeing that at least in June, at least half are residents. Rather non-residents, which would lead you to believe that the other half are residents. So I don't know what that means. I'm actually trying to figure out what that means because
Is it actually that high?
Well, we're seeing the parking, and you notice there are 2 numbers there.
Well, yeah, I don't know why the numbers actually don't match because the non-resident parking is 53%, but the non-resident beach is 72%. So unless there's like a lot of buses that are coming into the park where public transportation is being used more, I don't know why those numbers don't match, but...
Well, the situation is I think the beach gets much more non-resident attendance. The park itself is getting a lot of people coming for various things, be it the concerts we're having, other types of things that are occurring in the park. So we're seeing that there is a little bit of a differential. I can't explain exactly what it is, but
I think you're right.
We are tracking the numbers based on, again, the numbers of last year.
People in the car. We're fighting a lot of that.
Yeah, we may see that at the end of the season when we do our analysis.
But let's. I think this is important.
Does that include the patrons of Seaside Johnny?
Sorry, could we just look at some numbers here, though? If we look at what Commissioner Sack is looking at, and I think it's a great point, and I just want to make sure it's true. And we have non-resident parking is 4,226, and we have total of 8,501. And I think what he seems to me correctly deducing is effectively half of the parking participants or clients are resident. And is he right in making that conclusion? Can we say that?
I would say yes. When you look at permit parking, for example, we've tripled permit parking activity. We have increased by over 50% resident parking. Boot camp has almost doubled, and that's mostly, again, resident.
What I'd like to do for this, well, first I want to, okay, terrific. So Commissioner Sack's absolutely right to point that out, which is a considerable achievement, and again, one of our real goals for this summer. And I think there's no doubt but that resident participation in the park is up. And so I think next report, first of all, I want to actually take this opportunity before I forget, thank Mr. Nowotnik for spending enormous hours pulling all this information together. I keep getting emails from him at 1 in the morning, and so just really working hard to pull real detailed information together. Working with the staff at the park and with Mr. Trenzi, but he's really put a lot of effort into that, and I want to thank him for this.
Yeah, me too, Bishop. Great work.
Now, what I'd like to do, Mr. Nowotnik, if we could, in the next report, we have let's get a metric for resident, non-resident participation. Let's feature that in our reports, since it is a criteria.